Hey guys, welcome back to another week with e-commerce marketing chats with Jimmy and the main man Charles. I don't have actually a whole lot planned to talk to about today, so we're kind of just going to jump into one of our normal just chats about e-com. I'm sure Charles might have a couple of things that he wants to cover. I think the things I will cover tonight is what I'm seeing client side of their expectations, what's kind of holding them back from growth, more things along that line from me tonight. And I've been working with a lot of different apps this week. I've been talking to some app founders, so can dive into that a little bit as well. Um, and I think we probably should just touch on Black Friday again. We probably will just keep touching on it into the lead up just a little bit, what we're working on and what's happening on that front. But yeah, I'll basically just be jumping into what I've been working on this week for you guys this week. How about yourself, Charles? What's on the cards for this week that you want to discuss?
Yeah, bit of the same my side as well, Jimmy. I started working with a new supplement company, and the biggest issue that they had was they weren't ranking for their brand name. They were on like page seven of Google for their brand name, and they've had this issue for a while now. So they came to me to try and get it figured out, and it kind of uh, gave me the idea of talking about what to do when you're starting out with a brand new domain and you want to
Right.
start
Yep.
ranking for your brand name. Like what steps do you need to take to be able to get you at the top of Google, because it's super important. Um, yeah, obviously with SEO, we're looking to rank for non-branded keywords, but equally, as you build your brand, more people are searching for your branded keywords, and if you're not at the top, then you're potentially leaving thousands of dollars on the table. So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I've been building out. I've been updating a document that I created back in 2020. I can't believe we're now 2024, which was a
Oh, you got there
keyword.
in the end, didn't you?
Yeah, SEO keyword research blueprint. So there's just a couple of things that I wanted to kind of mention in terms of how to do keyword research, and a few mistakes that e-commerce stores and even SEOs make when they're doing and they're conducting keyword research and selecting and targeting the right keywords for their store. So yeah, just a couple of things that similar to you based on kind of what I've been working on this week.
Yeah, I have had a read of that blueprint that week. It's a behemoth of a document, but a lot of gold nuggets in it. So, um, especially yeah, it's I find because I everything I read, I try to relate it back to a Shopify store because it's primarily things I'm looking or working on. But yeah, it's really great in terms of okay, how could I potentially name if you're if you're struggling on how you want to name a product efficiently like and effectively, this document, just reading it, gives you some great ideas to look for like, other keywords or other key phrases and things that people might be even looking for at a product level. I think Charles has built this document more around kind of all keywords for content or for everything basically. It's like, okay, I need keywords for this. Where do I start? Which, when I was reading through that document, I was like, oh, this gives like some great pointers. It's got some free resources, it's got some paid resources. So basically, anyone at any level searching for relevant keywords can take something from that document and implement it, which is why I think it was really good. And I think when I read it, I think it was 42 pages, Charles. So if someone reads that and they can't find anything relevant to them, then they're either at the absolute top echelon of their game or they're not reading hard enough.
Yeah, there's something for everyone, and there is on the side you can actually click, and there is a menu, table of content. So if you do want to, I realize it's a big document. So if you want to scroll down to any relevant section, you've got that on the left hand side as well with Google Docs. So yeah, I appreciate that. Hopefully there's some golden stuff in there. I spent a lot of time kind of putting it together over the years and just kind of updating it based on you know, the SEO game evolves and changes, and then we've got the introduction of AI as well. So I thought it was time to take it, to give it a revamp.
Nah, definitely. That was great. We could probably start with that as well. And just on that, if you want the document that Charles is talking about, go to e-commerce marketing community on Facebook. Just post in there, "Hey Charles, I'd love to read your keyword research document," and Charles will get it over to you if you're in that group. So yeah, if you're wanting to read through that document, get inspired with some keyword ideas, hit it up there. But yeah, Charles, like when someone is starting on their website, you can kind of link this into, I guess, the homepage for the client that you're having issues with, and weave in where they should start on keyword research as well.
Yeah, I think the key thing to look at is understanding a couple of things. One, which is search intent, which is kind of the motive behind why someone's searching, i.e., are they just looking for informational content? Are they kind of window shopping, or are they further down the kind of the buyer journey? Um,
Yeah,
and so that,
especially before we get on the organic side from that, Charles, like search intent, even for Google Ads, majority of Google Ad buyers will buy the highly commercial search intent keywords. So we'd be going after like product model numbers. Like if someone's researching for a product and they're searching for the actual model number and but wanting to buy that, they usually have already done a lot of the research beforehand. Like if you're looking up a very specific model, and let's go for like a phone, for example, like the Samsung Galaxy S whatever model, and then the model number on the back of the phone, and buy. Like it's almost like, okay, this person knows the exact model they want. They want to buy it. They're probably just price shopping at that point, and you want to be in the game for those kind of search queries. If someone's just price shopping, they're pretty much ready to buy. So you want to be showing your store on key phrases like that. Whereas when Charles is talking about other search intent, if someone's searching for what's the best phone to buy, and that's the query, they're probably at the start of their research. You not necessarily, you don't really want to be paying like high amounts for those search queries. You don't want to be paying to be the informational source. You want to be paying to be the purchase source. And that's kind of the difference in the intent, whether they're just wanting to find out information, whether they're pretty close to buying, or whether they're searching for a really specific search query on the actual product that you have. They're the ones that you definitely want to be showing up for on the paid ad side.
yeah, for sure. No, that makes total sense. I mean, in terms of search intent, I kind of like to break things down into really the keywords fall into three key areas. So you've got kind of informational keywords. So keywords that people are just, maybe you're just looking for some information on a particular topic. You're not really even in the buyer mindset. Or you may be, like you said, at the very start of your journey where you're trying to maybe do some price comparison, and you're looking at the iPhone versus Samsung, which brand you should go for. At that stage, the user is, you can't put them into a buyer mindset, or you can't say that's a definite transaction. It's right at the beginning. So you've got informational keywords, then you've got navigational keywords, which is typically you already know the website or brand that you want to look for. You might be searching for, Apple contact number. You're looking for something related to a particular brand, or you already know the website, the brand, and the product. It's like you're looking for a particular page. I would class that as kind of navigational keywords. And then finally, you've got transactional, where really these are most likely keywords that are going to convert into a sale. So it might be, iPhone 16. It may be something even more specific. A roof rack for a particular truck. You're almost at the end stage of your buyer journey, and you know that you want a particular product. You just don't know yet what website you want to select. So that's what would be described as kind of transactional keywords. And if you can, when you're going through your keyword research, if you can be very conscious of the types of keywords and where those sit in those three main areas, then you're going to be far ahead of most people when they're kind of selecting the right keywords.
Where do like transactional keywords sit on like a blog level? Are they important to have in blogs, or do you think they're more important on a product page?
Well, I would say a product page, product or collection page, really. Um, yeah, you wouldn't necessarily have transactional keywords to target on your blog post. Having
Hmm.
said that, I mean, we've talked in the past, haven't we, about these kind of avatorial landing pages, which are kind of a combination of informational style blog content and then also products within that page. So, there's an argument to suggest that you could be targeting your transactional keywords on these types of pages as well.
Yeah, I like those advertorials for almost impulse buy products where a little bit of information will qualify or disqualify someone from the purchase. Like if you can qualify them early and they're like, yeah, this is the product for me, and they're able to then buy it on that site, I think it's a no-brainer for that kind of industry. I think they're great for supplement companies. I think they're great for beauty product companies. Somewhere where the price tag is not that high. But they've clearly been able to sell you the benefits through an informational post or yeah, along those lines. So you're right though. I hadn't thought about transactional keywords in a post like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and if you're unsure about when you are doing kind of your keyword research and you're not sure whether a keyword is an informational or a navigational or a transactional keyword, the simplest thing you can do is just put that keyword into Google and see what shows up. Like, when you type your keyword into Google, are you just seeing a lot of content and blog posts at the top? Therefore, it's more likely an informational keyword. Or if you're seeing, you know, products and collection pages from different brands, then really that's probably more likely a transactional keyword. Plus, also, if you've got, as you well know, Jimmy, if you've got ads at the top as well, if ads are showing, then there's clearly some commercial intent there, which would suggest it's more of a transactional keyword.
It's funny you say that. I forget what I was searching today, but the shopping ads didn't show up. So I just put buy at the end of my search query and then they showed up. So you're right. Google definitely knows kind of, and if it's on the fence, sometimes it won't show the shopping ads. But if they're showing you the shopping ads, which are the product images and prices at the top of the Google search, it's 100% a transactional query. Um, and if it's not, and you want to see the products, just put the word buy at the end of it, and I can almost guarantee that those product images will start showing up.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a good little hack that for sure. Yeah, no, it makes sense, and it just shows the when people are typing in, they're using that buy keyword, aren't they, at the end? So, and I think also the biggest mistake I see, as we're kind of talking about keyword research, the biggest mistake I see people making when they're starting out and they're trying to select the right keywords is they're getting too fixated by search volume. So search volume being the average amount of searches a particular keyword gets in a month. So they'll see two keywords, and one, say, has got 500 searches a month and the other has got 20. Um, and so they like, let me just select the keyword that has 500 searches a month without actually taking into account that what's most important is the search intent. That keyword that gets only 20 searches a month may be far more relevant and actually convert and transact to a sale when you target it and you're ranking on the page one versus that other keyword, which, yes, you might get traffic to your page, but it's not going to convert because the motive behind why someone's searching for that keyword is not relevant to your page.
I think it's as well about those searches, especially using those tools. I would always say to people, don't take them as absolute gospel. Like, use them as a guide, because I can tell you from using those tools and seeing the actual search term data in the back end of some of my clients, like some of those keywords that say they have 20 searches a month, I will look in the back end of my clients' accounts and I know that that search word has been searched at least 500 times this month. So use them as a guide. They're not the absolute be all and end all, but you need a guide, so they're definitely a good starting place. But yeah, don't write something off just because it's super low if you think it's super relevant. And the thing is, with those search term tools, if something's trending recently, a lot of those tools wouldn't have updated those keyword volumes by the time that you're looking at them. So if you're on a good trend, or you're able to capitalize on traffic from an influencer, they aren't going to be reflected in those keyword amounts for some time. So use them as a guide, but yeah, they're not there. They're just because it says there's 20 searches a month, it doesn't mean, okay, this is never going to get searched more than 20 times a month.
Yeah, that's so true, Jimmy. I mean, I've seen that, over the years, targeting keywords that have very little search volume according to a particular tool, and then you actually target it and you find out it drives
Yeah, I know.
more traffic than any other keyword you're
Yeah.
targeting. So it's that's a really good point. Plus, if you and I mentioned this in the blueprint, that I used an example of a keyword and compared it across 3 different tools, and they gave you a different search volume for every single for that keyword. So they're wildly inaccurate at times, but they are a good benchmark, as you said.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, and you've got to use kind of the best data that's available. And unless you've got that first party data from the client side, then you've got to rely on kind of tools like this to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And yeah, I mean, I always say the best starting point is actually Google itself, especially if you haven't, you're starting on a small budget. These SEO tools like SEMrush, Ahrefs, they're not cheap. So
Yeah.
you can actually get a lot of
From what I've heard, they're only getting more expensive too.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, yeah. You could use keyword as a good starting. Google as a good starting point to actually extract a lot of keyword data.
Yeah, if you've got a Google Ads account as well, there's a keyword planner in there which gives you volumes on a lot of keywords, and it's completely free too. But you used to have a spend limit on it to access it, like you had to spend over X amount to be able to actually use it. I'm not sure if that's still in place or not. So if you've got a Google Ads account, you should be able to access that data, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been on an account with zero spend in a very long time, so it's I can't know for sure whether that's been changed or not.
Yeah, well, actually, I would know because I wanted to get some to test it out, and I didn't have an account of any sort set up because I don't run any accounts, and it wouldn't allow me to look at. From what I could see, it didn't allow me to look at any data without setting up some form of ad account.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, I'm completely at the opposite end because obviously, Jimmy, you've got vast amount of client accounts and all already set up, whereas I it's not my
Yeah,
it's not my gig.
It doesn't make sense for an SEO to be having a lot of Google Ads accounts because you're not working on it, so that makes complete sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like me. I don't have a whole bunch of like Google My Business profiles under my Google accounts, or very few Search Consoles too. Although I have been getting more Search Console access because I'm seeing more and more kind of the the gold that's kind of hidden in them. So I am using them a lot more now. If you're not using Google Search Console, highly recommend it. I know we've spoken about it previously, and when starting out, you're probably just going to see a lot of brand traffic in it when starting out, but I'm finding some really kind of hidden gems in there at the moment, and it validates changes that I've made on some clients' websites too. Like we've built out a new collection page, and then I'll check Search Console like a month later, and that collection page will be its second most visited page on the website. I'm like, this is really good feedback. So yeah, definitely use it, dive into it, see what's in there, and think about it strategically and how you can use the data in there to keep growing your own store.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, those are just a few points. I mean, like I said, I go into a lot more detail in the blueprint, but I think it just gets you thinking about better understanding the fundamentals of keyword research, and because I see a lot of brands get this wrong, and it's the foundation. If you don't get the keyword research part of the process right, then every other part of your campaign is going to fall short with regards to a successful SEO campaign.
Especially from the e-commerce side, like having really keyword optimized product titles. Like people don't realize how important it is. They're like, oh, just, keywords might just make it sound a lot, a little bit better. It's so much more than that. It can be the difference between a product getting 500 impressions a month or 5,000 impressions a month, depending on what kind of keywords you're putting in there. So imagine doing that across your whole product SKU, doing the keyword research, naming all the products really effectively. Imagine all those products now, say you've got like 10,000 products, instead of getting 500 views, they're now getting 10x that. They're getting like 5,000 views because you've named it more appropriately, more people are finding it. Like that's the difference it can make, and people underestimate that. And they're looking, oh, how much more money can I spend to, get these results, when really they can optimize what they've already got on their own site and, you know, potentially 10x their results from organic search.
Yeah,
And it definitely, the product titles are so important for the Google Ads side of things too. So it would bring down costs on that front and allow you to kind of expand your products out to a larger audience as well, depending on how they're
mm,
named. It's just one little thing, how they're named, and yeah, the amount of exposure it can bring can be exponential.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's super important. Um, and I also see that even SEO agencies, they don't spend enough time in this part of the process. It's like, let's just quickly choose a few keywords for the client, and I'm not saying you need to spend a ridiculous amount of time on this, keyword process, because if you've not optimized any of your pages, then the longer you leave it, it's going to take you longer to see results. But equally, you do need to do it properly in order to see the best results.
I'll give you an example for kind of a client that I was working on. They were selling like a multicolored pearl necklaces. But when I was researching further, like even though it's called like a multicolored pearl necklace, a lot of the searches were coming in for rainbow pearl necklace. So we've put both colors names in the title, and I've seen, a pretty decent increase in traffic for those products just from how it's been named. So how you might be naming a product might be completely different to how your clients are trying to find it. Um, so that's the kind of feedback you need to get, and sometimes you only get that data by asking, like, hey, or the business owner, that, hey, how else would people be searching to find these? And then they said, oh, some people call it like this, like a rainbow necklace. And then I did some research on that. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of volume for this actually. So, yeah, it's just an example, but yeah, you can imagine that across a wide range of products. People call things different things. You want to try cover your product title to cover everything that it could potentially be called in still a way that the product title looks legible and natural. So that's a challenge, and that's the skill to it.
Mm. Yeah, there's certainly an art to it for sure. Cool. Jimmy, what would you like to move on to next?
Yeah, good question. So I'll kind of just dive into what I've been doing this week. So at the moment, I'm still looking for a suitable app to write collection descriptions in bulk. So I'll be testing a few more this week, but I'm hoping on the chat next week we can at least discuss some options that are good and that we would recommend. I don't have one to recommend at the moment. I'm still exploring, but I've spoken to some other people that are doing this, and it can get quite sophisticated. They're training up their own GPTs, which is like a form of chat GPT, training them on what the collection description should look like, giving them examples, feeding them data, and then using that GPT to write all their collection descriptions. So that might be a route that I have to go. But I am looking, there are a lot of AI apps popping up on Shopify, so I'm looking for one at the moment that's suitable to do what I want to do. And the price point that you're looking at for these, from most of them that I looked at, are between $30 to $50 a month. So if you can get the app in, do all the optimizations that you want, and then just remove it, then you're not paying for it monthly. So you can essentially do all your collection descriptions for the price of $30 to $50, and a bit of work put into feeding it everything it needs to be able to write those for you. So that's what I'm looking at. But on the app front, I'm also aware that there are some really good kind of untapped apps out there at the moment, and like in full transparency for part of my business now, I'm kind of trying to dive in to find the good ones, to have a collection of apps for my clients, and I'm trying to work with the owners of these apps to get a partnership agreement, either that can give my clients some additional benefits in terms of potential credits for the apps and things like that, and also like referral partnership agreements. So I'm working on that front on the app side, and it's the main advantage for Shopify at the moment, because I'm looking at a couple of apps that I'm testing on clients' accounts at the moment, and I do have some clients that are on custom builds, and they just don't have access to these apps or quick implementations that they can use to improve their marketing. They either need to get it custom developed and designed and then implemented, or they'll need some form of developers help to implement it, which is the advantage for Shopify, and some would argue the disadvantage in terms of, app costs quickly add up when you've got a ton of apps. So you need to review those regularly. But yeah, my main rule for an app is it needs to be bringing in more revenue than it's costing you. And if you have apps that are costing you more than are bringing you in, then you need to get rid of them. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there any from, I know obviously you're still in that kind of research phase, but is there any particular that stand out at the moment that you really like?
I've spoken to the owner of Monster Apps, so I'm really keen on doing more testing on their upsell app, also their frequently bought with app as well. Um, so yeah, it just looks. If you're looking to increase your average order value, I would recommend like checking out that app, because yeah, from what I've seen, it's going to be great for my clients. The client that I want to test it on initially is just finishing up a new website rebuild at the moment. So once that website rebuild's done, we're getting that app on there and we're going to start testing straight away. So that's one that I can tell you that I'm looking at now. So, um, and yeah, I have spoken about a couple of others, but if more people want to find out about those, they can check it out in the Facebook group, because some of them are actually
Yeah.
so some of them are free and are generating significant traffic and significant revenue. Um, And yeah, if they want to find out more about those apps, then yeah, they can jump in. They can jump in the Facebook group and they can find out more about them there. But yeah, Monster Upsells, if you're wanting to test getting your average order value up, I would recommend that one. I've been experimenting with that one a little bit, and it looks the goods. So yeah, support is great too. So
Nice.
yeah, test that one out.
That sounds good. Yeah, I know that you mentioned that to me. I definitely want to check that out for sure. Yeah, I think it's important, isn't it? They always say that being able to increase your average order value is traffic is one thing, but there's always there comes at times a threshold depending on your budget, your ad budget, even with SEO. Once you hit a certain threshold, it takes a lot more work to get new traffic. So if you could increase what you've currently got, super important.
100%. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the actual website themes, because there's some really good themes on Shopify, but Charles, this is directly related to that website that I showed you yesterday that didn't have an add to cart button on the product page, and it was really hard to check out. So they've just installed a theme on their new site, but it takes some work with new themes. Like there's placeholder images and all that. You've got to go through and update that all. You can't just install a new theme and it looks amazing. So I think that's where some people get a bit disheartened with new themes. The images don't look the same as the kind of preview that they saw. You need to put in the work to replicate it. You've got everything in the theme that would allow you to replicate it, but your images are horrible. Or, for example, in this particular website, the top nav menu were images, but they're all icons. But this theme has pulled from their old website, and they're all like bad product lifestyle images which don't fit into the circles properly, and they all look horrible. It's gonna take some time to update the website how you want it, and it's the trade-off for buying a theme. If you don't want to pay like really expensive prices to get a website developed, then you're gonna have to put the time in yourself to make it look good. Like that's the trade-off. It's either you pay between $5,000 to $10,000 for someone to build you a really respectable e-com store, or you buy a theme for 50 to 350 US dollars, and you put the work in yourself to make it look good. Like that's the trade-off. So yeah, it's just something again that popped up this week, and I think when these people do put the time in to update the theme, I think the website's going to look amazing. But it's going to take some time to get there. It's not just installing a theme and wow, everything looks amazing how it looks in the example picture. So yeah, something to consider as well.
Yeah, I think, especially with e-commerce, there's a lot more that can go wrong. Also, from a technical point of view, I think if it's a simple B2B service website, then you can probably get away with a templated theme, and it won't take much work. But I think with e-commerce, there's a lot more moving parts, isn't there? And I think if you've got it's worth investing the capital probably to hire a specialist to actually do the work if you can obviously afford to do that.
I don't have any problem with the themes. People just need to be aware that they actually need to put in the work to make them look good. So, like if I was launching a brand new site, I wouldn't be, and like you got to think of the people that are buying themes. They're just starting out. So, unless you're heavily funded or you've got a lot of funding behind whatever's starting out, I would start out with the theme and put the work in to make it look good, rather than having this idea starting out, spending $5,000 to $10,000 on it, getting 3 months in and finding out ecom isn't for you. So it's like
that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's definitely you don't need to be jumping off into the really expensive websites to start off. There are some good themes, but yeah, I just want people to be aware that they are still going to have to put some work in to make it look good. It's not so much the coding front that you need to make it look good. It's more actual just the imagery. Making the imagery, updating all the images, the graphics to something that suits your website. So yeah, like I know, like if you're really confident in the brand, you're like, this is it, I'm going all in. I can understand why you'd pay for, an expensive website from the start. For me, with everything, I like building up to those things. So with everything that I do, I always kind of start small and then grow to those things. And that would include the website. Like if I was just say I was to start an e-commerce store next week, I would be buying a theme and updating it myself rather than paying X amount for a website. But once my website got to a certain point, then I'd cash flow revenue wise, and it's like, okay, I need to take it to the next level now. That's when I'd be reaching out for a website upgrade. So it's almost justifying the investment of putting into a website when you've put in the work to one, grow your brand, grow your business, getting it to a certain point, and then being like, okay, let's rebuild the website, which is exactly what's happened with one of my clients right now that's going through the website rebuild. So we launched their website with a theme. We had to put in some work to make it look presentable. That particular website now is doing between 30 and 50K a month. And it's like, okay, we need to take this to the next level now. We need to upgrade the website. Now, they're getting a website built in that 5 to 10 grand range. So I definitely think there's steps to growing to kind of the website you need. And also, there's plenty of free resources on YouTube to use the Dawn theme to make it look good, which is a free theme. So I'm definitely one for building up to an expensive website build. And the reason I say that too is even though it's an expensive website build, trust me, it doesn't always mean it's going to be a good site. I've seen some sites that cost a fortune, and then I go through them. I'm like, why would you have paid so much for this? This is horrible. So don't just expect to have an amazing website just because you've paid a lot for it. That's not how it works. So I mean,
Yeah.
generally speaking, you are likely to get a higher quality website, but I've seen some of my clients pay a lot for some of their websites, and then I look at it and like, what conversion rate optimization elements have they put into this? It's sure it looks good, but like you're actually going to sell less with this website. So it's not all about how it looks; it's about how it converts, and the user experience for your clients. It needs to be still a good user experience, no matter how much or how little you've paid for it.
Yeah, well, not all web agencies are created equal, are they?
No, definitely not.
So yeah, just because like you said, you've paid top dollar, it doesn't necessarily mean that the level of work is going to be top dollar. No, really good point. And I think I like the fact that you said about leveling up. You need to prove that the business can be a success, or at least a kind of proof of concept first before you start investing tens of thousands on a
Yeah, and
on a new
I think
website.
I think if the decision is between a theme or paying, you're usually at the starting point. Like none of my clients that have an established site at the minute, none of them would be considering between a theme or a redevelopment. It would be, yeah, we need to get this site redeveloped. Whereas I feel like the only time you're considering between a theme or redevelopment is when or development from scratch is when you're starting out.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to wear multiple hats at the start. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, if you're starting with no capital, you have to do everything. And if you don't know how to do it, you got to learn how to do it. It's as simple as that. Um, yeah, no, good points. Good points.
And on that website, like Charles and I have spoken about this in one of our first episodes. Once you've got that website up, you need to hook up your Google Merchant Center, get your products through into Google Merchant Center, have them feeding through to Google. You need to work on your product titles and optimizations, and you need to think about the collection pages that are relevant to your business and build them out. Like these are kind of the pillar stones for starting out in e-commerce. And Charles and I both have different content coming out on different things for starting your e-commerce store, both from mine will probably be more general. I think Charles's will be more focused on the SEO organic side of it. But yeah, it's not lost on us at the moment that we don't have like a fully comprehensive resource to send you guys to be able to build out these things from the start. But because we don't deal with a lot of startups, it's why we're wanting to create the resource for it, because I don't want to get in the weeds building that kind of stuff with someone from the start, but I want to help them along the journey and provide them the resources where they're able to get there themselves.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah, like I said, any way that we can help in that respect, I think is going to be important for anyone starting out.
Yeah, and I think I think you find that with, like, for example, the majority of clients that I work are spending between $20 and $100,000 a month on Google Ads. So it's not very often that I actually get to have chats with people that are just starting out, because most of the people that I work with are pretty well established. That's why the actual group's been great for me, because I can see what questions people are asking when they're starting out. And some of it I hadn't even like thought of in years. I was like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah,
okay, this is the level I need to be at for like the creating this initial resource. Like that's not the I'm not saying that's the space I want to play in, but it is a space that I want to create a resource for. So I need to make it relevant.
mm, yeah, no, it's true. I have to, it's been great for me as well. Similar kind of situation where kind of dealing with clients where they're already making $100,000 a month upwards, and they're looking to take things to the next level or add SEO into the mix because they've scaled with just paid ads. So yeah, working with brand new sites, it's been interesting to see the types of questions that people are asking and where they're at with things, and it's always nice to be able to provide them with some valuable info that they can go off and apply.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of brings up a topic for me that I will go into now. It's around, I get asked like all the time, like, Jimmy, what should our budget be for this? And my answer's always the same. It's another question back to them. I was like, well, what's your goal? Like, how much revenue do you want to drive from this channel? Because then if I know how much revenue they're hoping to get or need to get from this channel, I can almost reverse engineer the numbers to be like, okay, with your current stats, like, you'll need to spend this much to actually get there. But like, I'm not running your marketing department, so I don't know what your budgets are. I don't know what your business economics are. I don't know how profitable you are. Not at this point anyway. So if someone's coming to me and be like, oh, Jimmy, how much should I spend on Google Ads? I'm be like, well, what's the goal? Where do you want to go? How much do you have to invest? Like, it's it's a hard question, because some client, for example, one client that started with me this month. I don't usually take these ones on, but it was in an industry that I really wanted to do more of because I've had really good success in it. They only have like a budget of $1,000 a month, and I was like, okay, what's your goal? And their only goal was to get like a 20x return on ad spend, which is pretty high. But those return on ad spend goals are so much easier to hit on lower budgets, because you literally just pick the lowest hanging fruit. And I had a look at their account, and they were pretty close to that already. They were kind of at the 13 return on ad spend. I know it sounds like a big jump, but with from 13 to 20. But when you're dealing with budgets of around $1,000, it's not that significant, that kind of jump, because, for example, I audited the account and I could see they were wasting $400 of their $1,000 budget on campaigns that hadn't converted in the last 6 months. So it's like, okay, well, there's 40% of the budget that I can distribute and get, if I can get better, if not the same results as what's already running, I can easily get that 20 return on ad spend for them. So and month to date, so we're recording this on the 24th of September. They're at a 31 return on ad spend at the moment. So it just shows,
Nice.
like, you and I was super confident that I could get there. I know I've said this before, but if I look at an account and I'm not confident that I can get them the results that they want or where they need to go, I won't take them on because one, it's a headache for me, and I never overpromise, underdeliver. And even when I am talking to a client, I never make guarantees either. I'll always say I'm pretty confident I can get there, but anything can happen, and there's variables outside of my control. But for them, spending $1,000 potentially going to look like it's going to turn into 31, 32 grand for the month. So that's a pretty good return. Whereas I've got another client, they asked me, Jimmy, how much should I spend? And their budget is 36,000 a month. And you think, oh, well, that's a pretty decent budget. It is, but when you've got 45,000 products, if you break that budget out at a per product level, you've got less than $1 to spend on each product. So it's like,
Yeah.
the budget that you have can be dependent on one, how many products you have, how much testing needs to be done, especially on the big accounts. The small accounts that have got like $1,000 budget, there's it's basically no testing you can do on that budget. It's basically just optimizing the account to the best practice settings, and looking for any opportunities that you can grab, and trying to filter through, the core best sellers, so they're focused on. But when you've got the larger budgets, there's a lot more testing that needs to happen. Um, but yeah, like I said to this client, I know you want to advertise everything, but it doesn't make sense on the budget you've got, and we need to be focused because I've done a kind of a cost analysis on them, and I've basically told them 5% of your products are bringing in 85% of your revenue, which should be like major, not red flags because they've got so many SKUs. So even 5% of the product range, like it's a decent amount of SKUs, but it's like, hey, let's focus the budget on this 5% of the products rather than the other 95% that are only bringing in 15% of your revenue. So, yeah, they're the conversations you have with bigger budgets. Um, and they're the ones I typically take over as well. Like they're the clients I work with because I like large SKU accounts, I like large data. I like having these conversations with clients and spelling out to them like it's not rocket science. Think about it logically. You've got this budget, you've got this many products. We need to funnel this percentage of the budget into these products that are overperforming for you guys and focus a lot less on these other products that are just draining your budget for no return. So, yeah, I try to simplify Google Ads as much as I can. One, for my clients and for myself too. I don't like these super complex setups and, um, you know, praying and hoping that it'll work. Like all my campaigns are logically thought out. Let's do this because of this, and let's test this because of that.
And Jimmy, with the smaller budgets, like do you already know, okay, we can only we can only focus on, 3 to 5 products, or is it even less than that? What is there any kind of
Nah, so
benchmark?
for example, this client that's got that $1,000 budget, they probably have 5,000 products.
Oh wow.
Um, basically, basically what you do is you set up a performance max campaign and you let it run. But if you've got $1,000 budget, that's $30. When you're breaking that down, it's like $30 a day. So, um, but yeah, and then once you've got some data through, like start off with performance max, or some people say start off with standard shopping. It's like standard shopping is a slow way to do it. Just do performance max, feed through as much data as you can, and then on the smaller budgets, you can start feeding out start cutting off some products that are taking up budget that are not converting, and it's just some like monthly optimizations from there. But with a $30 a day budget, there's not like a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of strategic thinking. It's like optimizing the account for the best settings, the best bidding strategies, um, potentially having a brand name protection campaign, one, to feed the account more data, because if someone's searching for the brand name, they're pretty likely to already know you and be very likely to convert. If they're searching for your brand name in Google, why else would they be searching your brand name other than to visit your site and potentially purchase from you? So, yeah, the strategy changes for kind of low spend accounts. It's keeping it simple, don't overcomplicate things, get the data that you need to be able to promote some products and cut some other products.
Okay, interesting. And I guess probably what some people might be wondering is like, yeah, do I set up this myself or do I hire someone right from the beginning? Obviously, you know, you run an agency, but I know that you'll
No, it's a
give
good
an
question.
yeah.
I the thing is, it's a hard one for me because I was just about to say definitely do it yourself, but then I think about all the accounts that I've seen from the people that have just done it themselves, and it's like, oh my gosh, like if I
That's
came
the
in here like 6 months
yeah.
earlier, you probably would have been like 100 grand better off. So I think the my answer for this would be hire hire an agency that's month by month and get them to do the setup in first month, and then um, take it off their hands after that. If if you're tight on budget, um, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't like those arrangements, but it's not about me, it's about the client. The reason I don't like it is because I like building longer term relationships with clients and growing with them. Whereas if they do that, they're kind of committing themselves to, okay, I'm going to get someone I know to set this up and then run it for a month and then I'm going to attempt it after that. Um, but yeah, if I'm looking at it from a client's perspective, then they're on a super tight budget, I would probably take option one, if I'm being honest with you. Paying someone to set it up and do it for the first month and then trying it myself after that. Especially if your budget's $1,000 a month, um, unless they're able to get some significant returns. That's the reason I don't take on usually $1,000 a month, because I'm fortunate with this client that I'm working with that we're getting a 31 times return on ad spend. So the revenue that we're making covers my fee and it's still profitable for them. But if you're hiring someone and you're getting a 7 return on ad spend, so you're spending $1,000 on ads, you're getting a 7 return on ad spend, so you got $7,000 in revenue. If you're hiring an agency to manage the account, like the lowest tier is probably around $1,000 a month. So you're on $1,000 of ad spend, you're on $1,000 retainer, which is $2,000, which straight away lowers your return on ad spend from a 7 to a 3.5 once you factor in the agency fees. So it doesn't make sense if you're on a super low budget to pay those agencies those fees unless you're still profitable. If you're still profitable, it makes sense, but yeah, I find it hard to think of a product that you could get away with like 2 to 3 return on ad spend and be comfortable in the e-commerce space.
Mm. No, it's a good point. I like it, Jimmy. Where else can you get a brutally honest answer there? Like you speak to a lot of Google Ads guys, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, you have to hire an agency." That's what I like about Jimmy. He just gives you the honest answer. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah, just judging from what I've seen from people running them themselves, I would recommend that they get someone that knows what they're doing to at least set it up for them. But if the return on ad spend numbers don't make sense when you're factoring in the fees that you're paying too, then get them to set it up and then take it, attempt it yourself after that. At least when you're attempting it yourself after that, the campaign structures and settings should be, I say should be because I've seen some agencies that have set up some absolute trash campaigns as well. So,
yeah,
but if you're hiring someone that you trust and that you've done your research on, they should have done a good setup job. Then yeah, take it off their hands after that. I've had a couple of clients that have done that too. So, but a lot of them are upfront with me. They're like, "Hey Jimmy, we need you to set this up and run it for the month, and then we'll take it off your hands." I'm like, "Cool." Like, I prefer that open, honest communication. Like, I don't want to be working on a client, thinking 3 months in advance, like what we need to do to optimize this, and then they just cut it at the end of the month. So,
Yeah,
yeah, if they're open and honest with me, that's fine. Like, I'm there to, you know, serve my clients. So, um, and build relationships with them too, because honestly, that's what my business is built on, like solid relationships with my clients and results. They're the two things that kind of carry you through an agency world. um,
mm,
good relationships and getting clients the results that they're looking for. So
absolutely, absolutely. Cool. Well, we're coming up to the hourly mark, Jimmy. Should we?
that went quick. I can't even remember
I
what I
know.
said we were going to chat about at the start of the
Yeah.
call. I hope we covered a bit of it. I know I said we're going to touch on Black Friday. Charles and I were actually looking at a Black Friday menu today. It's already live. So if you guys want to go to the website, it was factorybuys.com.au. So they've launched that real early, but kind of the structure that Charles was talking about last week, they've actually like implemented that to a T. So
Yeah.
what Charles was talking about on Black Friday at a collection level and creating a master page for Black Friday, these guys have pretty much done exactly that. So it's a perfect example for you guys to have a look at. Website is factorybuys.com.au. Neither Charles or I have any affiliation with that website. The site was floated to me by someone in our community last week, so I checked it out and sent Charles the link. I'm like, oh, here's a great example of the Black Friday menu that you were talking about. So, yeah, if you're looking for inspiration to create Black Friday page, I think they've done theirs quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with that one in particular, it's certainly for a larger scale e-com stores, but I would certainly even look at it even if you've got a smaller store. Uh, yeah, regardless, I think
Well, I
is a good
think
one
well
to take a
that
look
was
at.
that was the issue with your client initially, though, wasn't it, Charles? It's like they had so many products that they didn't know how to manage it. So then you're like, oh, we're actually having multiple Black Friday collection sales. So it's like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Exactly.
but yeah,
Um,
I don't think it's required. You're right. I don't think it's required if you're running a small sale or just a small e-com store. I think just keep it simple. But yeah, if you're like Charles and I's clients all have a lot of SKUs, so this would be a great example to send them. And yeah, you can kind of have a look what's best practice because that Factory Buys is one of the biggest drop shipping stores in Australia, from what I'm aware of, in terms of they're kind of in the furniture space, but yeah, they do drop shipping really well. And to compete in drop shipping, you have to have a dialed-in website and good marketing because everyone's selling the same products, and they're selling products that you can find absolutely everywhere. So for a business like that to be doing well, uh, they need good marketing. They need a good website. They need to be in front of the curve, like at all stages. And they're actually the type of websites that I like looking at, the ones that are in super competitive niches and still doing really well.
mm, good stuff. Good stuff. Um, cool. Well, I guess that's a wrap. We'll well, firstly, I noticed we've gone from even on this channel, we've gone from 4 subscribers up to 6 in the
Oh,
last
have we
week.
really?
Yes, so we are yeah, small
I
steps.
I actually saw a comment today. It looked like spam though. It was like, oh, this content's so great, but contact me if you want to upgrade your thumbnails. And I read it. I'm like, this sounds like scam, but at the same time, I'm like, I know our thumbnails are trash, so it could be relevant. But yeah, the thumbnail upgrades and stuff, guys, they're coming soon. They're not our focus at the moment. It's just pushing out content for you guys. But eventually, when we come to branding this channel a little bit better, we will we will update the thumbnails for you guys and the descriptions a little bit better too. So
Yeah, we're
we will
focused
be
more on yeah.
we will be doing the descriptions with AI though. I won't be watching them for an hour again to summarize. I'll be using AI to summarize them and just proofreading it and putting it in the description for you guys.
Yeah. Well, I think we're focused more on content quality rather than production quality at the moment.
100%.
Uh,
I, yeah, if yeah, I'm not. And yeah, even Charles and I were thinking about it. It's like, oh, do we edit this? I'm like, no, like let's just put up the raw chat. Like let's just
Yeah.
have a chat about what we want to chat about and put it up. And yeah, hopefully it helps some people. But also we come at it from a two-prong approach too. We put out this long-form content, but well, I'm going to do it, but Charles already does it really well. He takes the shorts from these long content versions and makes them, short videos and uses them in his own personal branding and, to highlight kind of the highlights of our chat on the short form videos. So yeah, I'm gonna get there, I promise. It's getting there slowly, but yeah, Charles already does that really well. So long form content, we can make a lot of short form content from that too. But there's also like I was speaking to someone the other day and they're like, oh, actually, like I'm getting into e-commerce and I've just listened to a few of your like YouTube shows in the car. I was like, oh, really? It's like, and they're like, yeah. So anyone that's listening in the car to this right now, thanks for sticking around to the end. And yeah, I should throw in a keyword or something like throw like purple monkey just in the group. Just write purple monkey. I know you listen to the end, and I'll hit you up and I'll provide you some additional value or do an audit on your site or anything that you want. So if you made it this far, yeah, keyword purple monkey. Throw it in the group chat, and I don't know. I've got the purple vibe happening here. Every time I hear every time I turn on this purple light, I'm like, okay, it's game time. Let's go.
Good stuff. Yeah, we're contrasting, aren't we? With the purple and the green. Cool, guys. Well, I guess, well, firstly, if you can, well, lastly, I mean, if you can like and subscribe, it'd be great if we could get from 6 to, maybe we should put a target to aim towards on this YouTube channel. But I don't know what number we're going to go for, but yeah, if you could hit the like and subscribe, if you are appreciating the content, that'd be amazing. And obviously you can, if you head over to Facebook, type in e-commerce marketing community, we should hopefully show up and come join the Facebook group.
Sounds good. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next week. That's a wrap.